There's this problem. And it's hard to say really whose problem it is because people don't like to be very forthright. I have not been allowed to develop any kind of relationship for going on 6 years now. As a matter of fact, one could say actually for 10 years. I used to have friends, I used to have colleagues. At some point, something happened. Nobody wants to acknowledge. All right. But because of them not allowing me to develop new relationships, and because of the consistent pressure to try to compel me to agree to do things I know are not only illegal, but are very dangerous, and are also expected to be done in illegal and dangerous manners with people that do not demonstrate the least bit of competence in being able to appropriately engage illegal and dangerous activities. What instead has been happening is a constant process of recapitulations of profiles connected to identities of people I used to know. And there's been no investment, and there's been no replacement. And it just keeps going. It's already past what would have been the useful life in an appropriate human capital accounting, engaging a system of depreciative accounting or depreciation accounting. There's been no investment. There's been no confirmation, and the best part about it is because I had every intention of actually living up to my potential. I did things like report it to agencies, to financial institutions, through the court system. And they just completely refused to do what they were legally required to do in order to meet the benchmarks. So it's defaulted. And so I have this constant stream of old identity accounts that are coded to names of people I used to know. I can't get in contact with any of them. Nobody emails me, nobody calls me. If I call, I have some, very few times I'm able to get through. It's some strange, cryptic program. They don't talk like humans. It's like when I call them, something happened, and they only say something that sounds like a cliche. They were programmed to parrot in order to confirm whatever the transaction is that they're expecting and accepting or acknowledging that I called them at that point in time. Is once they get the deposit, they have no further use for me. And the same people. And the thing is I've now been conscious of it and tracking it for at least two global flips. So they run these accounts on people I used to know that are not at all in any way, shape connected to those actual people. And sometimes are being worked by people and entities that are completely contrary in their intents as well as characterizations. And over time, they've increased the slander, taking it out of context and trying to make it an abomination. And the worst part is, I can't seem to get out of this Christian hell cycle. They don't act Christian. They don't do anything remotely actually Christian. They just have a Christian front. And it won't stop. Everything, every day at the end of the night, I'm supposed to acknowledge an account that is connected to somebody I used to know who identified as Jewish and was allowed to be identified as Jewish. But then I have to convert it. I have to allow for whatever the animosity is I have with that person at the time in some sort of little landscape of money laundering and illicit finance. And I never get any resolution. So I'm constantly excited to outrage. But at the end of the night, I'm not going to get anything unless I agree. They need to die. And then they have to resurrect into another account associated with somebody identifiably Christian. This has been happening the entire time I've been in Texas. Every fucking night. And not only that, There's the whole Sam thing. It can mean a variety of different things. But I know it has to do with the State Department. Ever since I found that audit. Every fucking night. Whatever I did during the day goes to Sam. And Sam sells it. Now, if I track what I'm allowed to see in the media, how much of it's accurate, how much of it's intentional misinformation just to run transactions at that period of time, that's not even the fucking point. The fucking point is that I'm one of what? The prototype? I've been watching for years. You run these psyops on me. You've kept me homeless. You've kept me destitute. You've kept me isolated. And then within a year, 3 years, 10 years, my life becomes the life of somebody very famous. Allegedly very important. Presidential candidate. A congressman. A senator. A head of state in another fucking country. Now, I have no way to confirm or deny that you've done this to other people, including people I used to know. It doesn't even really matter if you want me to die, because it's not really your choice. See, I understand that part of the frustration is at some point in time you tapped out of the option to effectively execute me remotely. You lost your credit for that. And a lot of people, state entities, commissions, they defaulted to me. But you feel like you could just keep ignoring me, and at some point I'll cede. And I'll just agree to let you claim what you defaulted to me. You can take my identity. You can claim it's yours now that you defaulted to me. This is what's been going on, at least actively, since July of last year. By the letter of the law, their law, the one they hold other people accountable to, so that they can come up with all kinds of machinations and lies and deceptions to cover up for whoever is important enough to get that kind of insurance. By their own laws, they're bankrupt. And they're not just bankrupt. At the best, they're criminally negligent. This isn't civil liability. It's criminal. And nobody prosecutes them. So there's no chance at recovery. And on another level, they're floundering around. They're desperate. They're in some sort of weird survival mode where they will grab onto anything, including a child's genitals, if it will keep them out of the crosshairs. But we don't really have any options. They've done such a poor job in actually doing what they were supposed to do with access to those resources. They were supposed to acknowledge very simple things before it escalated, but they kept gambling. They kept gambling and upping and upping and upping the ante. There was some big score they wanted. What are we going to do if April 24th, 2021 comes around and nobody's prosecuted them for what they did on 9/11? Because I know what I'm going to do. And I know what I'm capable of doing. And I know what every one of them that's hiding out has already empowered me to do by virtue of their criminal negligence. And I don't know how to have mercy because you've never acknowledged me as merciful. I don't know how to be forgiving because you've never acknowledged me as forgiving. I don't know how to be generous. You never acknowledged me as generous. I don't even know how to be graciously American because it's been a very long time since you acknowledged I wasn't the fucking Russian hacker. We're at an impasse. Shira is not the problem. Lara is not the problem. Michael is not the problem. Jason is not the problem. Allah is not the problem. Azza is not the problem. Hadil is not the problem. Put them to rest. Because if you're using them, I'm going to use them to get you. Now, I have other means at my disposal. Ones you said or values you held. That was my value, and you tried to use it against me. And you've bankrupted yourself. You've got a very, very, very short period of time to make restitution to the people you've defamed. Very short period of time. Use it wisely.